Welcome to Ellie Goldsmith's Relationship Flow. We are in our Shovavim Relationship Flow series. We are holding by week 5. Wow, what a journey it's been. Unbelievable. And really this is part 6 in this journey together, as we had to begin initially with the first week, which is before Shovavim, of encouragement. And already we've gone through the journey of going out of our restrictions, our limitations, to become a people, become a person, to become a relationship. I think that in order to really have a relationship, a person first has to have a relationship with themselves, be aware of who they are, to be connected into their soul level, as I've been writing in our United Souls book. And thank God we're already at 72 pages. Excuse my voice right now, it's a cold day. I'm just going on a run with my wife and son, my soulmate and my oldest son. I'm actually at the point where I'm now walking back because they're in a much fitter state. I don't mind being real about that. But it's beautiful morning in Yerushalayim. There's thunder and lightning going on the side. So we've got a light show, and thank God it's actually nice weather. It's not like stormy weather. It's just is interesting, a lot of energy going on. So to focus in on what today's and this week's topic has been, if you go to our Munas, our Future podcast and our Unity Flow podcast, we had a special musician, Yosef Danil, and we also spoke about the concept of really listening, of listening intently and with integrity, and that will lead to peace. How do we have that peaceful relationship that seems quite elusive in this end of Shovavim and end of, well, I'd like to say climax to this whole Corona challenge and Shovavim, which I'm hoping is what it is, because we really need to get through this story already. That we came out of our limitations. That was Egypt, that was Mitzrayim, that's the story of Exodus, and we went through the sea, and this week we're listening. V'yishma Yisrael, there's a power to listening, to receiving, to learning how to receive in a true way. As a famous rabbi once wrote, permission to receive, that is what defines us as a people, that there was no other revelation in history as all-inclusive as Kabbalah Satorah. It was offered to everyone in the world. For some reason, and deep reasons, it was the Jewish people who were the agents of receiving that revelation, and that's something which is now universally available for the whole world with globalization and the opportunity for the Jewish people to be present everywhere in the world, especially in the form of people like Chabad and other groups, that there's an opportunity to now receive this revelation of authentic integrity, which is based on truth, which is based on a revelation from the only one who can truly reveal what creation is about, and that is obviously in the Torah and the 10 Commandments. And that was what Yisro, like Yosef Danil and many others like him, like Nissim Black and all my other friends who've come many times to our studio in Jerusalem, they came to receive. Their hearts, their souls were open. And then there's many people who are not Jewish, but who also hearts are open. I encounter them all the day with our Amunah classes. Excuse the noise from the tram passing me in a moment. But the point is that everyone can hear. If you really want to listen to what your soul's saying, it's available now. Specifically when there's so much other noise and distractions. I was speaking to a friend who's in Dubai, one of my best friends, and he was saying that he's trying to get rid of the coronavirus in his mind, because he said that's where it's really infected people the most, the constant conversation and fear aspect and the focus. Whereas he would like to be away from that, which he's managed to do with his business and run it from Dubai, and be able to just focus in on his soul. And it was very inspirational that, he has obviously a learning schedule of how he learns and connects and developing his inner world, his mind and his heart level. and to find his soulmate and all the good things that he's doing. It's very inspirational for me to speak with him on Zoom. I did want to go in person, but this Ben Gurion's shut down right now, so even though I have a recovered COVID patient letter, which might not be much use soon anyway, because apparently you need a green passport, so whatever the story is, you can go on and on about this whole situation. The reality is that we were able to just connect on a soul level and communicate, thank God, through technology. And that's what I'm trying to explain to everybody, that everybody has that power. It's within everyone to connect, and wherever they are. And it's just a matter of really making that a priority. So in a relationship level, to really listen to our soulmate, to listen to the people in our home. Right now where we're on a lockdown in Jerusalem, to really listen to the people that are in front of us. Like where I work, it's, I try to focus on my work and not on, the latest politics that's going on. So I tend to not speak to the employees that much unless, I just be polite and to be a decent person, but not overly. Yesterday I was a bit more open. We don't get so much contact with people nowadays. Someone came to meet with me without really making an arrangement, but have to receive people kindly, and because I prefer when it's done through like a meeting, like a requested meeting. But I understand why it was just put upon me, because the person was trying to find themselves solutions and wasn't getting anywhere from the staff there. So I sat there and gave as much as I could, and also advised, that they're going to have to speak directly to those people in person as well to get the results they're looking for. But it was a nice thing to just like connect with someone, but at the same time, to realize that, people really just want connection. Like people really want to talk, and including myself, it's one of the reasons why I'm running this podcast, is that there should be a flow on a daily or weekly level. Thankfully, someone did decide to sponsor my Anchor podcast on some level, but I actually told them to stop for the meanwhile. I don't know if anyone listening has clarity on this, just a side note, because I won't be able to transfer any of the sponsorship to my Israeli finances, because apparently it's only a US banking and I don't have US banking account. So anyway, if anyone out there has any ideas or wants to partner on that point, because I had to request that person to move from sponsoring the podcast to a different project because of the fact that we would have just got stuck here. But that's just a side note. But the point was that, thank God, there is people out there listening and interested in what I'm doing, and that in itself is very important, because it can be a bit maddening, the isolation. I mean, it's a health risk, even a mental health risk, to feel that we're more isolated nowadays. And for example, I haven't seen my family in London for more than a year now, as I've mentioned a few times, and this isolation aspect, you have to be very careful, like the lockdown, and some people have to be in beduds and quarantine, and almost everybody at some points had to be there, and it can be actually very not conducive to what we're talking about on this special class. That there's an awakening, there's an opportunity to really listen and to internalize, and that's something which I know myself. I'm working hard on internalization of the last, say, 20 more years of living in the Holy Land, and thank God being around a lot of aspects of that revelation that happened at Har Sinai, by being around holy people and being in that situation of learning, and all those special Shabbases like this one's going to be Kabbalas Torah, receiving the Torah, and that internalization that we can do when we disconnect to reconnect in that whole process. And thank God there's an opportunity also on Yom Tov when we have Shavuos, which will be 7 weeks from Pesach. And it's funny because we're already in a way in that cycle, as the Beis Yisrael so brilliantly wrote when he said that for beginning from Tu B'Shvat, which we just had last week, every 2 weeks is another day of of increasing joy with Rosh Chodesh Adar, which is this blessing, is blessed this Shabbos. And then we go into the Mishaniknas Adamah B'Simcha, the more we increase in joy. And then another 2 weeks is Purim, and here it's Purim Mishulish, it's the 3-day Purim in Jerusalem. And then another 2 weeks it's already Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and then another 2 weeks is Pesach, and then another 2 weeks Rosh Chodesh Iyar, and another 2 weeks it's Pesach Sheni, and then it's another 2 weeks it's Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and then we're already by Shavuos. So it's a whole process that we're already in. Hey Shmei, sorry, I just walked past the minyan because there's people praying outside due to the situation, so I've got to answer that. We have that process that in real time, what we read about this week is already going to be manifesting the process, and the idea is to increase in joy, because a lot of the strength that a person gets to really listen to their soulmate. And I was just listening to B'nai Brown and Dr. Gutzman, I think they're John and Julie, happen to be both Jewish, funny enough, but the concepts of relationship skills and really nourishing the other person as a human and caring about their concerns and needs and not criticizing, which is something Rav Orish talks about all the time in his book Garden of Peace, which we recommend as well. There's an amazing, it's just this week I was listening to B'nai Brown, and we have that ability to really nourish the relationship through listening, like really engaged listening, to really show interest to the people around you, not to ignore the people around you. And that is something which I think that people nowadays really have to focus. I mean, we've got so much distractions with the phones and everything else, but hopefully I'm using my phone this morning to listen to some relationship advice from B'nai Brown while I was jogging, and now walking back, put out a podcast on relationship flow. We have the opportunity to take these devices and enhance our relationship just by talking this out. One, it clarifies in my mind what's important, that my soulmate and the intimate connection is really the most important thing I'm working towards and developing and realizing in my relationship with God and the world, that my wife, my soulmate, is my priority, that we should become strong together and one together, and then that manifests that unification globally. But it's only going to come from all these parts of work and dedication that we've been discussing, an attitude of gratitude, and being able to really listen, to really want the other person's success, and to invest your heart and mind and soul in each other, because really ultimately you're one soul anyway. So just like people talk about startup investments or all kinds of investments, property, and they put their whole mind and heart in making sure that happens the best way, even more so a person should do that with their relationships. And it should be something which right now, when we have been isolated much more, that we realize how even more important our soulmates are. They really are exclusive in a way to everything else, and that is part of this journey that we're going on together in our relationship flow, specifically in Shovavim, that we're intimately experiencing a revelation together, just like the Jewish people did at Har Sinai. And the key then is to bring it into our daily life and to show it onwards, and that will be the climax of Shovavim. That will be the climax. Next week we'll discuss more how to then synergize that relationship flow with your children and everyone else around you. But at first it's going to come from within. And as much as I said about talking to people and friends and work, but the key is the relationship at home with the soulmate. That's got to be the focus. So I hope you enjoyed this longer flow. I just think it's so important that we really clarify how important it is. The relationship flow should be with your soulmate, with true listening, with intent listening, to really be invested fully in the other person and their beautiful soul that you're gifted to be with, and to tune into those positivities, those beautiful aspects of the person you're gifted to be with. and to bring that into a beautiful Shabbos Balas Torah this week, to disconnect, to reconnect, and to really become souls that grow together. Amen.